Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Maddrey, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
And I'm Valerie Comer.
And today we're talking about pets in romance, and Laurie Larsen has joined us this week again. Thank you, Laurie, for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what is it about pets in romance that made you want to join us?
Well, I'm a huge pet lover myself. We've always had pets growing up, and as my family was growing up, I mean, we've had dogs, cats, horses, guinea pigs, hamsters, turtles, frogs, you name it. So we've just always had dogs around, and right now our dog is Weezer, who was a rescue. We got her when she was a year old 2 years ago. She just had her third birthday. And she went from being a stray on the streets of Georgetown to now being like the princess of the house, sleeping in a king-size bed and all that. And I even gave her a column in my monthly author newsletter. She has a column called Weezer's Corner. So, yeah, so I obviously tell a story from Weezer's viewpoint in my newsletter. So, and I have had several books that I've written pet characters in.
Excellent. All right. So we have Valerie's cat joining us, but
very temporarily. I think she's about ready to leave.
she's at it. Narelle's cat already wandered off, and my dog, I have a schnauzer who usually sleeps right here, and I was going to grab him, but he's wandered off. So all the pets have wandered off, but that's okay. That's okay. Narelle thinks her cat may come back, so we'll see. So Laurie said that she often puts pets into her books. I know I often will put a pet into my book. I love to do that when I can make it make sense. What about you guys, Narelle and Valerie? Are you big on pets?
I do love pets in books, but it depends on whether the pet turns up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't quite know how to explain it. It's not something I would plan, but it's definitely something, if it works, I will embrace it and love it.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I find that I do have to plan it, or else it probably doesn't happen. And I tend not to put pets in most of the time unless I can see that there's going to be a plot point that revolves around the pet. So I would say that most of mine probably don't even have animals in them, even though I have lived in a pet-free house very little of my time on Earth.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Are there any animals as pets that you wish you could see as a pet in a romance novel? I don't know if that came out right. What would you like to see beyond dogs and cats? If there is anything as a romance novel pet. Laurie, do you have anything?
Well, I am kind of partial to dogs and horses, just because those are my two favorite animals, and I've had dogs and horses, before. But actually, a book that I read that I'm going to share later, it was kind of fun to include farmyard animals as pets, because then you can kind of get into some funny, unusual type of scenarios.
Yep. Narelle, anything you've been hoping to see?
Not really. I mean, I do like birds in books. I think particularly birds that talk, that can have quite a lot of humor that can go with that. But otherwise, I think I like it. I quite like native animals, so that are in their natural setting. So I've included Australian magpies in one of my books before. So that's something that sort of works with the setting and makes sense for the story, rather than they just have a dog and they pat the dog and that's nice. So probably what Val was saying, yes, is that if you're gonna have a pet in the story, it needs to have some kind of meaning, just to give it that extra sort of feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the warm fuzzy feeling of having the animals in the story.
Okay. Valerie?
I think one of the things that I find is sometimes there's a hard line to find between a pet that is just something there for you to cuddle and pat on the head, or working animals on a farm or even a ranch, like are dogs on a ranch, are they pets or are they working animals, you know? And same with maybe even sheep or alpacas. They have a purpose for being there that's not just something to hug and snuggle, and yet they may very well be that as well. And chickens, you know, that it's kind of hard to know. And then there's service animals. So I found it hard in some ways to just like say, okay, well, this is just a pet, versus this pet also has other purposes for being. So yeah,
Okay.
My brain kind of went sideways when I saw that question. Not for the first time.
Alpacas aren't cute and cuddly. They spit on you.
Alpacas are adorable.
That's what
I
think
follow
about.
like 6 different alpaca accounts on Instagram. Seriously, because they're just so fantastically adorable with their cute little fuzzy faces and their big ears. They're amazing.
Narelle's just staring at you.
It's like saying koalas are cute and cuddly, but they're very well known for for wetting the person holding them. I mean, that's what koalas are known for. So maybe on the city.
Cute.
All right.
Cute from a distance.
Cute from a distance.
Yes.
Outstanding. Okay. All right. I know some people that fit that description also.
Babies.
Sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but it happens. So, all right. So I'm all in on any kind of pet, minus reptiles. Like if I were to encounter a hero, I mean, or heroine, because there are weird girls out there who like snakes too, but with a snake pet, I'd be done with the book. Like I'd be done. I have serious, serious.
I'm completely with you.
PTSD that I just am not getting into. So
I had a blue-tongue lizard. I had a pet blue-tongue lizard.
Okay.
I used to call him Bluey. I used to get so sad because the babies would get eaten by the cats we had cats that were around the place. But I could pat his head, which was probably slightly crazy, but I was a kid. Yeah, and I loved my blue-tongue lizard. He'd sit on the rock and he'd sun himself. He was such a sweet little thing.
A lizard is not a snake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did say reptile, but I could do lizards. But not snakes. Snakes are
no snakes.
No
way.
Pets have to have legs.
3 out of 4 bloggers on this podcast
Exactly.
are agreed that snakes are out.
Snakes are out.
Well, my son.
There, someone's in danger. Is basically my idea of a snake in a romance.
Yeah.
There was once a Disney movie, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was about the head character was a turtle named Vern, and it was all about when animals start eating junk food instead of the food that was native to them. Do you remember that movie?
Sort of vaguely. Yeah.
Well, my son Jeff wanted to get a turtle named Vern, so we ended up buying this turtle. I mean, he started out about this big, and by the time we moved him on to his next accepting home, he was like this big.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So he was cute, but it's a long-term commitment to take on a turtle.
Yeah, 200 years, right?
Oh gosh.
Isn't that their average life expectancy?
I think that's just tortoises. I don't think like turtles, but tortoises, yes, but not. Yeah.
You put them in your will.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Parrots, I think parrots can live to be 100 or so. So you do have to plan for like some of your talking birds' life after you as well.
Wow.
All right, so let's talk pets in books. What are some CCR books that you've read with pets? And we'll be as flexible with that definition of the word pet as you need it to be. So
good.
So yeah, there's flex here. And make sure that you mention the pet in your topic though. Okay, don't just talk about the book. Mention the pet too. So we'll go one at a time, and Laurie, we'll go with you first. What's your first one?
Okay, well, I kind of hinted around about this one. The book is called Scent of Cedar by Shanna Hatfield. And it's from her series called The Friendly Beasts of Faraday. So it's kind of cute. This book was a Christmas-based story. And it all started in the prologue with the farm animals who were going to take part in the Christmas live nativity scene at the church. Okay. Well, they can all talk to each other. And so their goal is to, of course, put on a good show for the church, but also they have the goal of finding love for their 4 men, human men in the town that are really nice guys, but can't seem to find the right woman. So book 1 was about Lolly. Lolly is a llama. And she was part of the nativity, scene at the church. And so her human is a man named Rhett. He kind of inherited her when he bought the ranch or the farm or the house with the lands, the property. And she came with it. And so he's kind of gotten used to her. She's not real easy to get along with. She's kind of demanding as a pet or a resident animal. But she's got this goal in mind that she's got to find a woman for him. Well, then lo and behold, what's her name? Cedar, Scent of Cedar. Cedar is the heroine. She moves in next door. And she's escaping a bad relationship and a bad, set of decisions. And she just wants to start it all over. So she's a little bit on the high energy, like kind of, she's not real relaxed, let's say. She's kind of a type A personality. And when this llama comes and looks in her window or walks up onto her porch or, scares her to death, she just starts freaking out. And she starts calling somehow she has a phone number of the neighbor who owns Lolly, but he's a hardworking guy, and he's just like, oh boy, I don't have time to return her calls. So eventually they meet each other and they get attracted to each other, but he kind of keeps this deep, dark secret that he owns Lolly and that she's, not real happy with Lolly. Well, Lolly, so they start dating and they're getting along great. I think they're both kind of falling for each other. And then all of a sudden, Lolly decides to push it really one step further. She goes over to Cedar's house and she collapses. So she requires Rhett to come over and come face to face with the fact that he owns her, he is her human. Which then, of course, makes Cedar upset. And, you've been lying to me all along. How can I trust you about anything if you're not even coming clean about Lolly? So anyway, it was a perfectly adorable book. It was very unusual. Every once in a while, the animals would get together to talk about the progress.
That sounds fun. I haven't heard of a matchmaking by the pets book.
No, that's adorable.
Exactly, and especially a llama.
That's adorable.
Or even a goldfish.
Yeah. All right, Valerie, what's yours?
The first one that came to my mind was by Tanya Eavenson, and it's called To Gain a Valentine, which doesn't really tell you anything about the fact that it's a very animal-centric book. The guy, Patrick, is a pediatrician who is taking some leave and is staying at his sister's house while his sister and her family are away on vacation, and he's there to look after the pets, of which there is a lab, some lizards, a goldfish, and a parakeet whose feathers he finds next to the golden lab.
Oops.
So, yeah, a whole lot of oops. That's in your first chapter there. And Amabel, the heroine, owns a pet supply store. So she's a friend of Patrick's sister. So she knows the animals and what they need, and here's the kind of dog food you need, and whatever all. And she tries to help him find a new parakeet that will, be okay for the kids when they come home because of all the trauma. So this is a couple who had once, so it's kind of a second chance romance as well. because they had known each other before, but then he'd gone off to become a doctor. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. And that was definitely a case where there would have been no story if there had been no animals. So it wasn't just a little tack on, oh, and the dog strolled through in 3 scenes. But the animals were very central to the whole tale. So it was a fun one.
Nice. Narelle, what you got?
Well, before I forget, I think we should do a Story Chats episode on vets as heroes and heroines. Because I think that'd be fun. Then we can enjoy the love of animals.
On what?
Veterinarians.
All right, sorry, veterinarians.
Oh, vets. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I think that'd be
Only
park
because
rangers.
vets could be also military. So let's
okay.
specify which vets we're going with.
That's why you all looked at me strangely. Oh, here we go. The Aussie strikes again. All right, so I've got myself completely distracted. So I have how many? I hope we can talk about a few and have time. So the first one is that I'm going to talk about is Terry Farris's Until I Met You, which is the second book in the Restoring Heritage series. And this isn't a spoiler; it kind of sits to the side. But with the main romance is Libby and Austin's romance, and Libby moves to Heritage. Her brother was the hero in the first book, and is just got married, etc. And she brings her dog with her, and she's had a few things in her life that have been quite difficult, and she's quite attached to her dog. And so the next door neighbor of her brother's house is the hero, and that's Austin. And he has ended up from a previous relationship, acquired this pedigree female dog. And I can't think of what breed it was. It was one of the exotic breeds. And he's short of money for a whole bunch of reasons. He's the one that's doing the construction of restoring the town square and that. And so he thinks, oh, well, she's on heat, so now's the time that I'll get a breeder, and then the puppies will help to fix some of my financial problems. So, except for the fact that Libby's dog escapes the yard, and he's a very frisky boy, and off he goes, and the dogs meet, and no more ideas of breeding can happen after that. So I think that's a really sort of fun element in the story to bring in sort of that aspect.
Fun for you, not fun for the hero. Poor guy.
Oh, I know, but it was quite hilarious the way it was written. I really enjoyed it.
It was a fabulous meet cute. It was a really clever meet cute for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
another topic we could do sometime. We could just come up with some of our favorite meet cutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah, so that's my first one. I'm not talking for long about books because I've got a few I want to talk about.
Okay. All right. I chose Iris by Sharon. Is it Srock? Srock? I think I'm assuming, like, phonics tells me it's Srock, but I don't know how she says it. So
I don't know.
Iris is a veterinarian, so she would work for another episode apparently. And so we see all kinds of dogs as she's in treating animals and cats, and we hear about her veterinary practice. But she has a pet guinea pig, which I thought was kind of fun. And it's actually, the guinea pig gets more than just a passing notice. And honestly, I thought it was kind of funny for a veterinarian to have a guinea pig. I had a guinea pig growing up, and I sort of consider them like the world's stupidest pet. So don't hate me if you're a guinea pig fan. Okay, I'm sorry. I did not enjoy owning a guinea pig for the short time that I owned a guinea pig before it died. It was not a long-lived pet, and that was very traumatic.
That's okay, I guess.
It's like a 6-year-old. I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? But she also, like, it was funny because the vet, Iris, would talk to her guinea pig, and the guinea pig would talk back, in guinea pig noise, not like Laurie's book. But she got it like so perfectly. Sharon got it. So she said that the guinea pig would go week, week. And I'm like, that is exactly, like, she spelled it out so that it sounded exactly like the noise my guinea pig would make all night long while I was trying to sleep. Yes, it was really fun. So, Laurie, what's your second one?
My second one is called Saving Sarah by Melissa Storm.
Okay.
And Sarah is a nurse in a I'll say a nursing home or an old, old folks home. And Lucky is her golden retriever. And Sarah is extremely shy, the human. And Lucky kind of helps her deal with her anxiety dealing with others. And then also the older folks in the home love, having the interaction with the dog. So she kind of plays a dual role, helping Sarah and those that she works with. And then there is Finch, who is the hero. He is a .com millionaire who created some like really great app. And he was in all the magazines as being, the most successful .com guy under 30. But then he made a bad mistake, and he thought he was doing a good thing by selling this .com app that hit it big. But it actually turned out to be not a good thing. And he's now, several years later, almost broke. So he's kind of the laughing stock of the .com world. And what they have in common is this woman who is a patient of Sarah's. She's very difficult personality. She's very, not so nice to the staff and everybody around. She's just kind of a grumpy old lady. But Sarah, of course, is trying to be the one to break through, and she's just so kind-hearted and all. She's always trying to make this woman feel better and stuff. Well, it turns out that Finch is her, I'll say, a great nephew or something. But they didn't know each other. They weren't acquainted with each other. So she calls him in and tells him that she is his great aunt and that she, has an inheritance that she wants to give to him. But she's not going to do that until he solves a family mystery that has been hidden all these years. And basically what it was is in the background, like back in a couple generations ago, I guess it would have been Finch's grandmother. She was baby snatched from the hospital because this rich couple couldn't have their own children. And so they were in the hospital somehow and basically kidnapped the baby and raised her as her own. And so now she's not really part of the family, So what this great aunt now is asking Finch to do is to go and solve the mystery of who is that person really, who are her family, and who should really be notified that, because she's gone now too, the great grandmother. Or the grandmother. So anyway, it's kind of twisted storyline. Now there's this mystery to solve, and he doesn't want to do it. He's like, this doesn't really apply to me. Well, Sarah, of course, being so helpful, and okay, let's do this together, So they go off and they try to solve the mystery, and Lucky is alongside, all along the way. So in this particular story, unlike Lolly, who was basically the matchmaker that put the two together, Lucky, I wouldn't say she played a real strong part in the plot. She didn't, have a part of the plot herself, but she was just the support group for the heroine and always had her along. So, but it was good. It was interesting. I hadn't really read a romance novel with that kind of twist of the kidnapped baby.
Big twist. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big twist.
Speaking of twists.
Twist away. Twist. Speaking of twists, don't stop now, Valerie. Go.
Go for it.
Speaking of twists.
Oh, okay. I thought you were leading in like you had another really twisty book.
I could, but
all right. What's your second book, Valerie?
This is one I read a couple years ago, so it's not super fresh in my mind, but it's by Kristen Ethridge. It's called Shelter from the Storm, and this is part of her Port Providence series, in which there's a hurricane that comes through. So if we ever want to do an episode on natural disasters, but she has a bunch of novellas and short novels that take place during this particular storm, and this one features Becca, who is the director of the animal shelter, and then the guy is Ross, and he's a veterinarian. And
The
because
one.
of animal shelter and stuff going on in there, they had both been planning on leaving the island for the hurricane, but because of the animals, they both wind up staying. So this is a, forced proximity kind of thing, but because of the animals. So again, a story where the pets play a very vital role in keeping things together.
Mhm.
Yeah. Narelle, what you got? What's next?
Okay, so my second one is A Handful of Hope by Elizabeth Maddrey. So I've talked about this one before in a previous episode, so I won't go into too much about the story. But Jen suffers from clinical depression. So she has a real battle with depression, and Tribble, who is her dog, is just amazing. Like, Tribble just brings so much joy to her and is sort of her safe place when she can cocoon herself at home. And I really like that aspect of the story of how pets are good for your emotional health as well. Mm-hmm. So that's probably one of the reasons that I chose that book. It's a great story, and Tribble plays a meaningful role in the story rather than just being the pet that you pat and sits in the corner. So I like it when the pets do something in the story and really add to the characters' lives. And because that's how I've always felt about my pets, that I always cry when they pass, and it's always very sad because I get so attached to them.
Yep.
Yeah, even when it's the magpies, if you see one of the babies that has been hit by a car or something, that will cause me to cry as well. So yes, we do love our pets and get attached to them. So I'll always look for the romances that have that element in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my second one is Somewhere Along the Way by Kimberly Ray Jordan. It's in her New Hope Falls series. And it's like either the most recent one or the one before. So I think we're on book 8 or 9 at this point, 7 or 8. Anyway, it's recent. Emma Clark has a farm with goats, but the goats, she does also have dogs, but the goats, in addition to providing her livelihood, she's making goat milk soaps and lotions and that sort of thing. But they're very still clearly beloved and pets. And then she ends up with some baby goats, and the baby goat videos become a sort of running joke / draw between the hero and heroine as through the course of the story as well, which is kind of fun. Teasing about needing a baby goat video and that sort of thing. And then he will still, when they're in the middle of their black moment, he's like sad that he's not going to be able to see the goats. So the goats are sort of some of the glue that holds them together when it's hard.
I've forgotten about that story, but yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
When you started out, I'm like, Kimberly Ray Jordan, what has she got? That's got pets in it, like significant. And I was coming to blank until you're like the goats. I'm like, of course, the goats.
Yeah. So, all right. If we go fast, we can do a third one, but you have to go fast.
Yes.
Fast.
Okay.
All right, Laurie, fast.
Okay. Mountain Getaway by Heather Pine. So we have a very stressed out coffee shop owner who needs a vacation. She goes and takes a solo camping trip in the mountains in a campground. And she keeps running into this stray dog who keeps coming and finding her and, making friends with her. And she's annoyed because who would let their dog wander around and not take care of this dog? Well, the dog happens to belong to Mr. Dreamy McBoat, of the town. His name is Rick, and he's a rebel from a rich family who left the life in the big city to come and live in the mountains. And so this dog is what unites them. So
nice.
Fun. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. So
no, me either. Cool. All right, Valerie.
I'm going to go with one of mine.
Okay.
Dandelions for Dinner. This is part of my original Farm Fresh romance series, and there is a little boy who has suffered a lot of abuse and who is now living with his aunt, who is the heroine of the story. And he's very withdrawn. He says almost nothing. He's 4 or 5 years old at the beginning of the story, and he says nothing, like he's just cringing away from everybody. but one of the farm kittens is his favorite thing ever. And it's this kitten that helps to draw him out. And that was really fun to write. But I think it's symbolic too of how pets can do that for us and be a real comfort. Like you were saying, Narelle, about Beth's book, where you've got somebody who's really traumatized for whatever reason, and yet an animal can kind of get through where people really can't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Narelle.
Well, that
Narelle's
one
going
was
to
on
do
my list.
6
So
really fast.
thank you, Val, for talking about your book, because it was on my list. And I've cut it down to 2. So
Okay.
the first one I'll do very quickly is Cherish Me by Autumn Macarthur in Chapel Cove, which I've talked about before. And Nays is looking after Aunt Ivy's bookstore cafe. And there are 2 dogs, a cat, and a parrot. And I thought it was just hilarious. So I think I liked how the pets in that story really added a lot of humor, a lot of fun to the story. That's the first one. And the second one, which I'm planning to reread soon since we're heading towards Christmas, is Poles Apart by Marion Ueckermann. And this is one of my favorite Marion books. And yes, so where we're in Lapland with Nicholas and Sarah. And Nicholas has these golden retriever dogs that were just adorable. So
I think that was my very favorite Marion book.
Yeah.
I think so too. It has
fantastic.
reindeer.
Yeah, and it has reindeer in it as well. So to remember Marion, I occasionally will reread her books, but that's the one I'm planning to reread at Christmas because I just love that story.
Yeah.
Fantastic story. Yeah. All right. So my last one, super fast, is sort of cheating. Lee Tobin McClain has a series called The Off Season. And it's just clean, not Christian. Although Lee, I feel like, weaves grace notes in throughout even her not officially Christian stories. It's there. The faith is there if you look for it. And the whole premise of the series is these wounded heroes of some sort, police officers, whatever, who go to a cabin in the off season in this little beach town, and they almost all have some sort of service dog, police dog or whatever, who goes with them. Plus there are pets in the town as well. And the pets are always part of the plot. In the first book, the lady who is running the cabin has a really ill-mannered golden doodle who just is causing havoc around town as she's trying to train this dog to not be a menace. And it brings her and the hero together initially because he's really annoyed at how ill-trained her dog is. But anyway, the pets are definitely major characters in that whole series, in addition to the people, I feel like. So, all right, final pet thoughts.
Go hug your pet.
Go hug your pet, absolutely.
We should talk about more books with pets because my list was too long.
Yeah, we could do a second episode probably. All right, Laurie, thank you for joining us. Do you have anything coming soon or that just came out, or where can we find you? All your author scoop.
All right, great. I do have a novella coming out. It's a Christmas novella that I'm releasing next month. It's book 2 in my Big Apple Blessings series, which is 3 stories about people who are making their dreams come true in New York City. The first book was about a billionaire Wall Street tycoon. Second one's the one that's coming out is about Rockettes dancer. And then in February, it'll be a theater manager who goes in front of the audience as a Broadway actress. So that'll be exciting. And then where you can find me, my website is authorlaurielarsen.com. And of the social medias, I'm most active on Facebook. So
all right,
Facebook page.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for joining us on Story Chats. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what we missed, what your favorite pet is, where you stand on the whole reptiles as pet things, and whatever you want to talk about, we'd love to chat with you. You can leave a comment on the YouTube or on the Facebook page for Story Chats. You can find information about the podcast at inspiromance.com/storychats. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next week. Meanwhile, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.